So hello to all my cherry bombs, it's me Cherry and I'm back with another story time. And y'all, this story time is gonna be about the time that it felt like, the reason that the title is what it is because it felt like I was on an episode of Bad Girls Club. Like, y'all know, like when they introduce like a new bad girl and everybody's like, we're not gonna talk to that B. When she comes in here, she thinks she's gonna run it. And then they have all these like plans to basically like isolate the girl and like leave her out and stuff. Like that is that is what this felt like. So we're gonna get right into that, but before we get into this story, I do want to mention I was supposed to do a review for TTDI. Actually, that's the contacts that I have in, and they sent me 4 pairs of contacts. And it's crazy because they sent the 4 pairs of contacts, and I kid you not, when I first tried to put the contacts in, they were burning my eyes so bad. Like I literally couldn't make the video, right? And then I like put them in like, because you know you're supposed to put them in solution. I was being stupid. So I put them in solution, I let them sit however long you're supposed to let it sit, right? Tried it again. The contacts were still burning my eyes. So I don't know what has changed since then, because the last time I tried to put these in was like a week ago when I emailed them and I was like, hey, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wear these contacts to make a video. I don't know what changed between then and now, but I tried it again. It's been like a week. I tried it again, and they're cooperating and they're actually pretty. So I don't want y'all to be scared by me saying that, but I'm very honest. I actually have to look at the color that these are, but they sent me 4 pairs. Also, my Amazon wish list for my apartment, so that I can stop telling you these stories on the floor, will be linked down below. So if y'all want to get anything off the wish list, feel free. You literally are not obligated. I will not feel no type of way and be like, oh, my cherry bombs suck because they didn't get anything off I don't care. It's just down there because people suggested it, and you know, if you do, I'll be ecstatic, okay? I'm gonna be hyped. But if you don't feel like I'm gonna love you any less. And as far as everything else in the link down below, let's get into it, you guys. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, hit the like button so more people can find my content. Turn on your notifications because I'm very sporadic with how I post, and if you don't have them on, you will miss me. And then all my social medias will be linked down below so that y'all can connect with me, because I am active, y'all. I'm back, I'm feeling great, I'm in good spirits, and I am active. I'm active on TikTok, on Instagram, here of course. And honestly, I love Twitter, child. I be on Twitter every day. I be on Twitter tweeting it, okay? So now that all of that is out of the way, before y'all be trying to grill me, that took too long. But did you KO though? Okay, you'll be all right. So y'all, basically, okay, so in the story that I was telling about falling out with my ex-best friend, and actually one of my ex-best friends, because I realized that people thought from that story that I only had I realized people think from that story I only have one best friend, and they feel like I have no friends now, y'all. I have best friends that I've been friends with for like anywhere ranging from like 7+ to like 10+ years. Like I have 3 best friends, and we've all been friends for like nearly, if not over a decade. It's just I had 4, now I have 3. But anyway, in that story time, I was saying how that friend and I got invited out by this girl, and this story time is going to be about that girl, and I'm going to call her, I'm just gonna call the girl Z, and the ex-best friend we're gonna call her Chanel. I feel like that's an easy name to remember. Okay, myself, Chanel, and then I think one other girl had gone out this one night, right? It was this random night. We all went out. We ended up at like, I think we went to like the 40. Y'all, first off, if you are in New York, the 40/40 Club got them ninjas, and I mean with money, and they be fine, okay? That's where they be at. Not in the they be in the regular part of the club too, but if you go upstairs where they be having events and stuff, babes, thank me later. Anyway, I got invited out to this private NBA party, right? So boom, we go to the party. We get lit, y'all. Like they are giving us shots. It's a vibe, right? Boom. But this story is not about that. That's just where we started, right? So we leave the private event, and then we go to this club called the Stafford Room in New York. Stafford Room also be lit. We get to the Stafford Room. This is where the story starts to get blurry and fuzzy for like this first part of the story, because y'all, when I tell you, that was one of the best nights I think I had had in a long time, because of the fact that like everybody was just so genuinely lit and having a great time. Like all the girls was lit, the guys was lit, everybody was lit. So we left the NBA event, so we were no longer with them. This was a whole different group of people. We bounced around that whole night. And so when we were bouncing around, like me and the two friends that I was with, me, Chanel, and then the third friend, right, we're bouncing around, and we get super effed up at Stanford Room, okay? Not sloppy or anything like that, but like literally just everyone is vibing, having a good time. We leave Stafford Room, and when we walk outside, everybody is so lit that at one point, so there is a guy that we met inside of Stafford Room, right? He's like, hey, when we leave here, we're going to the strip club. And so me and the other girl, we're like, oh, bet, we want to go to the strip club and, you know, throw someone else's butt. Like, when you dance, it is so nice to be able to go to the club as a patron and not as somebody who's working at the club, right? So we're like, me and the other girl, we're like, yeah, we want to go, like da-da-da, boom. He's like, okay, bet, my car's outside, like we're about to leave. So we're like, okay, cool. So y'all, before that, oh, that's a stranger, babes, we're grown. So as we're leaving, Chanel is like, we're all lit, right? I'm thinking, me and the other friend are thinking that Chanel is walking behind us to go, like, to get in the guy's car so we can all go to the strip club or whatever. It's a group of us. But she wasn't. So I turn around. So she's leaving out with a different group. And these were another set of athletes, but they were football players, right? So she's leaving out with and we had met like maybe two of the guys from this group kind of in passing beforehand. We went to like some party. I can't remember, but we had met them at a party before. So I knew that she like recognized them because I recognized them, right? So I look back and I'm like, oh, Chanel, like, are y'all gonna meet us we're all thinking, y'all, we're genuinely thinking that everybody is meeting at the strip club, right? Now, granted, the guys that me and the other friend were going with were not with the two football players, right? These are two separate groups, but we're all thinking, because like in New York, like everybody want to do the same shit in New York. So it's like, you know, like there are certain moves where you know like that's gonna be the after spot, so like everybody's basically gonna end up there, right? So when Chanel was like, oh, we'll meet y'all there, me and the other girl get in the car with the guy from the section or whatever so that we can go to strip club. So boom, we go to strip club. It was kind of dead, honestly, but I still had a great time because like I said, like we were so lit that like we go to strip club, and then me and the girl, like when the strip club was kind of dead, like we left those guys and then we grabbed food, went home, ended our night, right? Chanel had ended up in Jersey because that's where her group, they stayed out in Jersey or whatever, and that's where they were doing their little like, it wasn't an after party, but it was like more of like a, all right, like if y'all want to come and have some more drinks and stuff, we do, like da da da, like y'all know how guys do or whatever. So she is up in Jersey, right? And when she's in Jersey, that is where she met Z, and Z is who this story is about, y'all. This is all gonna just follow me, bro, follow me. So boom, she meets Z, right? And so from that night on, I hadn't met Z. So from that night on, she would invite Chanel out to things, right? And she would always, because she hadn't met me, but like, so she invited Chanel out to like, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was, but she invited Chanel out, and I had ended up coming with Chanel because we were always together. So I had ended up meeting Z, right? This was like I think this was like the first time I had ever met her. This was the first time I ever met her. But I could tell that I was like, okay, like Z has taken a liking to Chanel, and like that's what she always invites. So like, you know, like this is like, you know, kind of like this is Chanel's people or whatever. Like this is not really my people. Like, you know, if I want to come out or whatever and I get invited, okay, cool. But like those weren't my people, right? So boom, fast forward to this actual story. So I go out with Z the first time. I go out with like Chanel and Z and them the first time. This group of guys, like they had like a routine. Like they would always like, I'm not gonna name all their spots, but like they would always hop around. Like they like to go to all the same clubs. They would always hop to like these same like 4 or 5 clubs. So boom, this time in particular though, like this is after the first time. This one day, Chanel and I are hanging out. We're just having a day, we're like going around like doing stuff or whatever. Z hits up Chanel. She's like, hey, what are you doing? And Z would always do this thing, like, because this is what I would notice from the times where, and actually I want to say this might have been like my second or third time out with them when this happened. Z would do this thing where like she would hit Chanel, but she would hit her late. It would be like maybe like 5 in the afternoon, and she would be like, oh, what are you doing tonight? We're like, you know, we're about to do like a dinner, or we're going bowling or something like this. But then it'd be like, yeah, the bowling or whatever it was would be something that was like gonna happen at 8. Which you would think, okay, 5 to 8, you have time. Not in New York City when, you know, you have to factor in your train ride and getting ready. So that's already another, you already, for whatever you do in New York City, you have to put aside like an extra 2 hours. You just need to. Even if you're not going on the train, you still have to put aside an extra 30 to 40 minutes, because even if you take a cab or a telegram ride, it's still gonna take you a minute, right? But this particular time, I wanna say, she had hit her earlier in the day. Like it was probably like, maybe like 12 p.m., 1 p.m. Because she would always call them the boys, right? And this is, I'll get to that, but Z just gave me like, I'll get to more of why I felt this way, but Z gave me like, oh, like you're kind of like a madam for them. Like, you know, like you basically like, how far am I in the story? You bring the bitches. Like that's like your actual job. Like you bring the bitches. So boom, that's what I had kind of like peeped from the time before that we had hung with them. Again, like we had only hung out like 2 or 3 times. But don't take me long, I be peeping. She hits her this particular day, like this was the first time like she did it early, right? So I'm sorry, I skipped a little part. So Z hit up Chanel, and Chanel asked me if I wanted to come. That's what I'm saying in this next part. Chanel was like, oh, you know, we're all going to dinner tonight, because she told her she was going. So, and she asked me if I want to come. And I was like, well, I was like, Z only invited you. So it doesn't really sound like I'm invited. I think you should ask her first. Because Chanel just kept on saying like, come on, let's go get outfits. Like we're going to go, like da-da-da. And I was like, yo, like, I don't think I'm supposed to come to this. Like, ask her first, because it's not giving the vibe. Because like when I tell you, Z would very intentionally only invite out, like even after we had all hung out and it was made very clear that like, okay, like Chanel and I are normally together, like we're besties, Z would very intentionally only invite Chanel out to things, right? Which I'm not tripping. Like I'm not tripping, but I'm also peeping. So I told Chanel, I was like, hey, like ask her, like make sure it's okay. She said she asked her and Z just brushed over the question. Like she didn't address whether or not I could come or not. So I'm like, ooh, it's given no. And so Chanel was like, well, you know, everyone knows that we're best friends, and they know that like if they see me, they see you, if they see you, they see me. Everyone knows that we're always together, right? And not only that, Z had watched Chanel's story. Actually, I watched both of our stories before inviting Chanel out, and we were together on our stories, and you could tell that we were together, right? So that's also why I was kind of like, that's kind of, it's just giving me vibes that she's being very, like, you can tell she's being very intentional, because you can tell that you and I are both hanging out today. She's watched my story and she's watched yours. She knows that we're together, but she's only sending the invite to you, right? Again, not a problem, kind of weird, but okay, you know, whatever, right? So Chanel's like, well, she knows that we're best friends, so you're coming, like da-da-da, we do it, like let's go get fit. So we go get fits or whatever, we do all this stuff. Now granted, I was wrong for going against my better judgment, because I literally kept saying, I was like, hey, I literally said it like probably like 3 or 4 times. I was like, does she know that I'm coming though? Like make sure that she knows that I'm coming. If you're making the decision to bring me, just make sure that she knows, because she already brushed over your question about bringing me. So like, you know, y'all, it was just given. And mind you, Z had done this before, bro, where like I said, Z would very intentionally only invite Chanel. That's why this particular day I was really drilling it in that I'm like, girl, like I'll come with you, but I do not, like I know that she don't want me there. And it's not like she had a reason not to want me there, but it's like, it's definitely clearly giving like I'm not invited to this. But Chanel was like, no, like you're coming, like that will be fine. But I'm like, girl, it's not giving will be fine. It's giving like this girl about to feel a type of way. I honestly genuinely know that part of the reason Chanel thought it would be fine though, or like thought it wouldn't be an issue,
is because the guy that she was dealing with was the one, like the athlete, he was the one calling the shots, and she knew that he wouldn't mind. So even though Z was the one inviting the girls, Chanel knew that because of, like, basically because of where she stood with the guy, she knew that he wasn't gonna mind. So I feel like that was like why she was thinking, oh, okay, like it'll be fine. But it's like, okay, I get that he don't mind, and yeah, he is the one paying, he is the one calling the shot. So if he don't mind, okay, cool. But at the same time, like, okay, yeah, he's the one calling the shots, but she's clearly the one kind of more so in charge of the company that is invited. Like, I don't know how to, y'all, just, which is why I say against my better judgment, I should have just said, you know what, like, I'm dubbing it, like, because I'm very big on, I'm not finna press nothing, and I'm not finna go nowhere I'm not wanted, or like stay anywhere that I'm not wanted at. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those where ultimately, I really feel like in this moment, Chanel was genuinely trying to be like, yo, I just want to get you out of the, you know, out of the crib, out of the house, because it's crazy, because that same day that we had got invited to this, we actually had a heart-to-heart that day. And so I do feel like she just genuinely wanted to be like, hey, like, you're my best friend, like, I want you there out there with me. The intention was good. The result was the result was just keep listening.
Like, make sure she knows, right? So, boom, long story short, we get to this dinner, right? Boom. We get to this dinner, we pull up, and so at first we're waiting to get seated, right? And when we come up, it's Z, it's a couple of girls that she invited, and then me and Chanel come up, and we're like at the hostess stand, right? And when we walk up, you can tell Z is like, y'all, she was not hiding the fact that she was irritated. Like, she was just like looking like, the look in her face was like, why is she here? I didn't invite her. Like, she didn't say that, and she didn't even, like, you know, she was still like, she said hi, but like, it was like a very, like, I guess, you know, let me not be rude, but like, I'm not really trying to say hi to you because you're not the person I invited. I don't know why the fuck you're here, but okay. So she said hi, but it was very much so given that, like, you could feel the energy off the walk up, right? So I'm just like, ooh, this is mad awkward. And I can't be mad because it's like, okay, like, friend, I asked you if she knew I was coming. Clearly she didn't know I was coming because she got a whole attitude. So actually rewind. So before we all get seated, it was made known that basically Z was like to Chanel, Z was like, I have a guy for you, and you know, I want to hook y'all up, and basically like, yeah, this is like, I'm putting you on him.
Basically, Z had told Chanel earlier in the day, like, I have a guy for you. Now, granted, this was not, so Z worked for one of the players, right? The guy that she was trying to put Chanel on played for a different team, but all of these guys were a friend group. They were all friends. So it was kind of, we're kind of like, oh, it was kind of weird because Z also knew that Chanel had already been dealing with the guy that she worked for, which is why she would invite her out. So we were kind of like, how does she expect that to work? But Z was basically like, yeah, I have this guy for you. He's tall, he has money, he can dress, he's fine. Fine was a reach. Attractive? Okay, we'll give him that. Fine was a reach. And me and Chanel both had said that. But anyway, that's besides the point. Z was trying to play matchmaker, and that's why I say she gave me Madam vibes, because it's like, girl, you're trying to play matchmaker, but you already know that, like, it's just giving like swap it out. But now, granted, without saying too much, I know why Z thought that that was going to work, but it still was just like, damn.
The one that Z wanted Chanel to basically like be paired with, I'm gonna call him TK. That is nowhere near his actual initials. So yeah, digging's not gonna do you any good. And then I'm gonna call the one that she had already like hung with. I don't feel like he really needs a name, but just in case, I'm gonna call him Brett. That sounds white. He wasn't white, but I'm just gonna call him Brett. So boom, Chanel and Brett had already been, you know, kind of like hanging out and stuff. And were like, it was already, you know, it was already one of those where like, you know, when you've hung with somebody a couple times, and you know, when you get to the event, you already kind of know like, all right, like I'm leaving with you type shit. It was kind of like one of those, right? So we had already, we was kind of like, okay, like we all, they all, this is the same friend group in everybody here. But okay, shoot, Z was on a mission, right? So that was what she had already said previously. She said, Chanel, I have a friend for you.
I know I am over explaining this part, but when I tell you, people are so slow, because there will still be somebody in the comments that don't get anything that I just said, and it's still lost.
So we get there, and I feel like that's one of the main reasons that Z was just like, why is your fucking friend here? Because this is not part of the plan. So we sit at the table, y'all. We sit at this table, right? And I guess Chanel was supposed to sit beside TK, right? But Chanel waved this to the seat that was beside him. She was like, hey, like, have a seat. So I'm like, I'm kind of confused, but I'm just going with the vibes, yo. So I'm just like, I thought that, like, you know, like, y'all, I'm just there. I'm just fucking there. So it's TK, it's me, then it's Chanel, and then it's like a couple seats left over to that side. On the opposite side, it's Brett, some of Z's friends that were there, and then it's some more just guy friends of the football players, right?
Now y'all know I'm good for drawing y'all some shit, okay? We're all about visuals over here. We're visual learners. So this is the setup of how we were sitting, y'all.
So we're sitting there, and naturally, y'all, I have the type of personality, like, I'm just being me. I'm just making conversation, cracking a joke here or there, whatever. So Z's friends weren't there yet. Like, she had more girls coming.
I don't know why it wouldn't let me put the text on the screen, but anyway, when I say she was still waiting on more girls, this is Poppet Squad that I'm talking about. She was still waiting on, like, I think maybe 2 out of 5 of them were there, but the rest of Pop That Coochie for a Burger Squad was not there yet.
Myself and the guys, regular conversation, vibing out. You can tell when like people are taking a liking to you or when they're not. So like they took a liking to me. We're cool. We're just like, you know, we're chatting, right? So all of a sudden Z comes in. She has more girls with her, and you could cut the tension with several knives, like not just one. You would need a couple. First off, right off the bat, I noticed I'm the darkest one there. Mind y'all, I know y'all probably, like, those who are new to my channel and are not OGs are probably like, oh, she always talks about race and colorism, like everything's not about, bitch. When you're black, I promise you, everything do really actually be about colorism. Like, y'all just not ready for that conversation, and y'all like to ignore it. And for a lot of people that are in a category where they can comfortably ignore, that's what they choose to do.
So for the people that are new to my channel and don't know that I've been addressing and talking about these topics, and I'm very aware of the fact that I am not dark skinned, but I do observe what goes on as far as colorism, and then I also have experienced it myself, even though I am not dark skinned. So I can only imagine what it's like if you are darker, and that's what I always say. But for the newbies, because y'all be in the comments, you're not even, I know that. I look in the mirror, and I understand that I also could consciously choose to stay quiet on the topic and silently benefit from colorism, because there are a lot of spaces where I too can benefit from it. I'm very aware. I choose to stand on that shit, okay? Anyway.
I was the darkest girl at the table, right? And so everybody sits down, right? Z is like not hiding the fact that she is seething at the fact that I'm there. Z is texting Chanel. She's not hiding the fact that she's texting her and basically going off on her via text message, because then Chanel shows me. And Z is like, you should have told me if you were bringing a friend. Now my girls have nowhere to sit. Like, da da da. Like, why did you not tell me that you were bringing somebody? Like, I invited you. And then she's talking to TK, and I brought him to set you up with him, and she's talking to him. Mind y'all, promise you, we are not chatting about nothing flirty, no, none of that extra shit. We're literally talking about the menu and picking out some appetizers for the whole table, and just, you know, just regular conversation that people ask you when they meet somebody new. Everybody on that side, like all the guys, we were all talking, we're all chatting. It was not just me and TK doing a one-off, right? Z is going off on Chanel via text message. And not only that, it's like I said, she was not hiding the fact that she's going off on her, and I'm sitting right beside Chanel. So it's like, I know that you're mad I'm here. Clearly she's showing me the messages of you being like, you know, now we're gonna have, like, Z was, y'all, when I tell you she was livid, she's like, now we're gonna have to go somewhere else because we were at a steakhouse. She's like, now we're gonna have to go somewhere else because you brought extra people and there's not enough room for everybody. So now we're like, and we ended up going to another restaurant. But these mother effers don't care. They just want to be around pretty girls. We were already gonna be bouncing around regardless. They have drivers. The drivers are gonna go wherever they want them to go. It's not like they're, you know, they're not being super inconvenienced by this. But before we left, they had already ordered appetizers before they realized there weren't gonna be enough seats for everybody, right? So when the appetizers come out, y'all, I'm a fat ass. I can't hide it. I'm digging in. Because everybody was sitting there talking about how hungry they are. I'm digging in. The guys were digging in. But I guess the girls at the other end of the table, they weren't eating yet. So Z is like mad, I guess, like, and see, this is all stuff that, like, I'm in my own little world, in my own little zone, because I'm not paying none of the little mean girl shit no attention. So I'm in my own little world. I guess Z was feeling a type of way that I had started eating before the girls, like before like her friends. And so she was like basically like making it known to Chanel, like making commentary, but I wasn't catching it because I genuinely was not paying her any mind. Like I didn't catch none of the, I guess she was trying to throw shade because Chanel told me later, she was like, yo, like she was literally like, she was trying to throw shade, like, like she's making it awkward. And I'm like, girl, I didn't catch any of that. She's like, what? She was basically, Chanel was like, yeah, girl, that's why I was like trying to get you to like, kind of like slow down on eating the appetizers, because like she was feeling some type of way that like you had started eating before like the other girls. And I'm like, this madam pimp ass bitch, like I don't give a fuck. And then also me and Chanel, because this is like, we have this conversation after, actually no, let me, not even before I get to the rest of this conversation. Well, actually, no, I'll finish it. We have this conversation on the way to the second spot, right? Because like I said, we had to go somewhere else because there wasn't enough room for everybody. The girls, when they had come in, all Chanel's friends, first off, everybody was super light skinned. And I'll double back to the conversation that me and Chanel had later, because that would make sense. But everybody was super light skinned. You could tell one of the girls, like she was definitely, Chanel was the only black girl. She was just black and light skinned, but she was the only black girl. And then there was one other black girl, but who was also high yellow, right? Everybody else was like light skinned Hispanic girls, and then maybe like 2 mixed girls. So as we were like, we would talk to them or whatever, and they would kind of talk to Chanel or whatever. If I said anything to the girls on the other end of the table, they would just kind of like, they wouldn't just blatantly not say anything. Because y'all, when I say I'm outspoken to the point, I will ruin everybody's fucking night if you try me, bitch. I will ruin this whole fucking shit. Like, I know in my last story time, I was like, oh, you should have said something. And I should have said something because I was my best friend at the time. And it's, to me, it's personally, it's really hard to have those tough conversations sometimes with people that you really love and care about. If I don't know you, what reason would I ever have to spare your feelings? Why would I do that? And at the time, Chanel also, again, all the people around me know how I am. I'm very, very, very outspoken. If you try to make me feel a type of way and you end up getting my attention and I feel a type of way, oh, you're gonna know. And you're gonna know in front of everybody, and I don't care. I do not care. I don't care if it makes everybody uncomfortable. I don't care if it ruins everybody's night. You wanted my attention, you got it. You made me mad, okay? Just like that freaking girl.
And try to make me mad, so get what? Round of applause, bitch, you made me mad, bitch.
So anyway, because Chanel knew that, she was not making me aware at the table of what was going on. She told me this in hindsight, right? The girls that Z brought were just very slow to answer. Like when I'd be like, oh, like what do you do? Like, we'll do. or I would say something to them, you could tell they kind of would think about it and be hesitant and then answer me kind of like, oh, I guess I won't be rude, but who is this bitch? And they were all doing that. They were just all very standoffish, like kind of like acting like they didn't really want to speak to me for real. But they would speak to Chanel, but they would act like they don't want to really speak to me. And then they were all having like huddled up, like mind you, we're all sitting at the same table. They're huddled up, like all talking to each other and Z and shit. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I literally feel like I'm on an episode of Bad Girls Club. Like, I feel like I'm like the new girl that just came in, and like the baddies that have already been in the house like have marked their territory and they're trying to like figure out how to kick me out.
Mind y'all, not even gonna hold you, and this is not to toot my own horn. The guys were feeling me. So it was making the girls on the other side even more mad because they basically showed up with like no personality, no conversation. And because I'm like, I'm talking, I'm pretty, the guys were like, y'all, when I tell you, I was catching looks from the guys, like, you know those looks like when they're like, damn, like, I'm trying to fuck with her, she fired. I promise y'all I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I was catching those looks from the guy, not Brett, because of course Brett was already dealing with Chanel. But the other guys, I was catching those type of looks. Mind y'all, like I said, there were only 3 black girls at the table. Myself, Chanel, and that girl that I mentioned earlier. But that girl was super, super light-skinned. But you could tell, like, from her features, she was black. But then myself and Chanel, and I think this confused people in my story time about falling out with my best friend. Chanel is not a lot lighter than me. It's just she's light enough to where in the eyes of a colorist, like, of course, they don't, as long as they see lighter, that's what they care about. She's like 2 shades lighter than me. And I think the girls at the table, honestly, like, even though they weren't being weird or nasty towards Chanel, you could tell, like, because anytime Chanel and I would go to these events, we tended to be the girls that got the most attention. And I feel like it would surprise the like Latina girls because they were so used to like, oh, just assuming like, oh, we're gonna be first pick. So when they weren't, it was like, you could just tell like the energy would shift. They would be kind of shocked. Chanel and I, that's what we felt like was happening this night. We felt like they were shocked that the guys were taking such a liking to me as a black girl. Because if I wouldn't have come, and again, like I said, Chanel's like 2 shades lighter than me. Chanel would have been the darkest one there. And Chanel is a light-skinned black girl.
Mind you, it was also weird because Z had another girl that she had brought that, like I said, Chanel and Brett had already been like, they weren't talking, but they were like basically hanging out. But Z had brought a different girl that she was trying to put onto Brett. And then she was, I guess her plan was to put Chanel off onto TK. Even though Z ain't give a damn, bro. Boom. So like when we go to the next spot, me and at one point, like me and Chanel are like, we had a one-off, and we're like, Chanel's like, yo, like this is weird, because she had caught this. Like, she's like, I think it's weird that like we're the only 2 black girls here and we're the darkest girls here. Like, I really feel like, basically the way that Chanel put it, she was like, you know, like when she was like, I think that Z brings the girls for Brett. And I think that she has an idea of his type. And because she has an idea of his type, she does not veer outside of that box at all. And I think she's honestly upset because she didn't know that because mind you, Z is like a Hispanic girl. Like a more like heavier set Hispanic girl, right? And so Chanel's like, I think that Z didn't realize that that's not the only thing that he'll accept. And she is shocked and like she's irritated. Like, I think basically she was trying to say, I think she's irritated because she didn't think that Brett was going to like me being there, because Z felt like he only liked light-skinned mixed girls and Hispanic girls and maybe the occasional white girl. And so basically that's why we thought that Z was mad, was because it's like, okay, like you brought this black girl, this is not even his type, like why is she here? She's taking up space for the girls that are his type, and he could have had his pick, but now they can't even get to him or talk to him because she's sitting right there and she's talking to them. Like, she didn't say these things, or she didn't say these things about the color thing, but this is what we were kind of getting. Like, we were just like, ooh, she's really feisty. Okay, so we go to the next spot, and at the next spot, I think because Z saw, because like I keep saying, I think it gives like Z is like the madam for like the guy, because she had said something about like she actually works for him. So when we get to the next spot, Z is like trying to be like, she's like loosening up a little bit, like trying to be like, I guess like kind of like fake and nice or whatever, now that she realizes that the guy took a liking to me. And y'all, when I tell you, they was all feeling me. They literally was all feeling me. No one had an issue with me being there. And honestly, some of them was trying to flirt. Like, they was like dead like, oh, who is? Like, she's pretty. So once she seen that they took a liking and they weren't bothered by like, oh my God, there's a black girl here, then her whole tune changed up. Like, not dramatically, she was still kind of like standoffish, but like she loosened up a lot more, right? So we get done at the second spot and we end up going to we end up having like a whole night or whatever, and that's kind of how it ended up. Like, I can't tell that story without it being dramatic and without it telling other people's business, so I'm just not gonna tell that story. So boom, we get through the whole night. This is also like the TK guy. He's also one that I was talking about in the story about how I was like saying, hey, like, girl, I'm trying to leave, because like all the other girls, like we had a whole night. Basically, everybody's vibing out, whatever. We go to Jersey. We're also like drinking, whatever, hanging out. But then it starts winding down, and you could tell like the girls that Z brought, like they were all planning to go back to New York, like back home. And that's when I was like, hey girl, like, cause I'm peeping like, okay, TK had ended up basically wanting to like fuck with me, and I'm just like, ooh, I don't want him. I don't want to be involved with him. I don't want to fuck with him. Like, I want to leave when they leave. But that friend was like trying to, like, you know, Chanel was trying to deal with Brett, so it's like, anyway, didn't end up leaving when they left, unfortunately. So I feel like from that entire interaction of like us ending up not leaving when the other girls left, I think to in Z's head, because Z didn't leave, Z would like bring girls for them or whatever, they would do a whole night, hang out or whatever, and then Z would spend the night at Brett's house, but like, you know, in the living room or whatever, like on the couch or whatever. She didn't live there. She would just basically like, I don't know if she was just making sure that everything was like copacetic for the whole night. Like, apparently she was just assistant. So I guess she would like bring them or whatever, and then at the end of the night make sure like the girls get cars ordered home or whatever would do it. Like, that's what it was given, right? So she would spend the night or whatever. So I think when she saw that like myself and Chanel ended up staying that night, because she had already had a night where she had met Chanel separate of me, so she kept inviting Chanel out. I think when she saw that in her head and Z's head, like we were like DTF in her mind, then she was like, oh, okay, like now I'm gonna be like, y'all, when I tell you her whole tune changed up after that. She was so nice to me after that. Like, she literally would like, she would reach out, she would text me and Chanel. She'd be like, hey, you know, y'all, it literally gave, I told some other ninjas about your coochie cat. They trying to see what's up. I told them you're a good time. So do you want to go on this trip or that trip? Inviting us to trips to out of the country, all types of shit. And I'm like, first off, I will never forget the fact that when we met, you purposely made it so uncomfortable for me and acted like you fucking hated my guts just for existing in this space that you didn't feel like I deserved to be in. Now that you feel like you have determined in your head, you feel like I'm DTF, and we're grown on this channel, y'all, so we not, don't even, oh my God, nah, 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 nah. I told y'all I didn't want nothing to happen or whatever we do. It's unfortunate turn of events. I felt how I felt. We're not gonna do too much deep diving into that. But now that in your head, you madam pimp ass bitch have determined that, oh, like we're DTF. But I guess in your head, you feel like we just ready to swap it out type. Like, girl, it wasn't giving none of the things you thought it was giving, but I guess that's what she thought it was giving. So because she determined that, y'all, she started being so nice. She would invite us out. Anytime she would invite Chanel, she would also invite me out. She would invite us out all the time. And I would just always dub it. I would just be like, no, I don't like hanging out with that group. I don't want to go out with them. Not interested. I would always dub it or whatever. Then it got to the point where like she would never hit me up on IG. But like she would watch my stories and then like she would start like, she'd always hit like Chanel up on IG or whatever. And then she would start texting her, whatever, call, whatever. But it got to the point where like she would react to like my Instagram stories like with hard eyes and stuff. I'm just like, girl, I will never forget the fact you don't like me. You only are being cordial with me because you feel like if you have somebody for the team, you think that I would give them some coochie cat. And because you work for Brett and you want to keep him happy, which includes making sure that his boys have a good time, you basically like me now because you want to use my cootie cat. You want to put Big Bertha to work? She works for me. She don't work for you. What? What? Girl. Ooh, child. Oh, boy. Look, even the Lord has something to say. Oh, thundering. But yeah, you want to put my coochie cat to work. It's not giving it. It's not giving it, girl. Literally cried after that interaction. Not because of the girls. Like I said, like I didn't want to interact with TK. I just felt like so gross. Like, ew, he was. Oh. Trauma. Not laughing at the trauma. But yeah, that's my story about sitting at the freaking Mean Girls table. And yeah, this girl's trying to pimp out my cooter cat. But anyway, that's my story, y'all. And I will see you guys in the next one.